And so these are some of the wonderful, upsides we can see from investing in self-storage. One of the things we love is the tenants are sticky. If I'm leasing a $2,000 apartment and I get a notice to increase that it's going to be increased 10%, well, I might move before I pay an extra $200 a month. But if I have a $100 self-storage unit and they raise it by 10%, I'm probably not going to spend a weekend, get a U-Haul, get my friends together to move my my treasures down the street just to save, $10 a month.
You're so right about it, Paul. You're so right about it. Exactly. That's what we've been talking in our teams. People do not move around. And I couldn't believe where I live in Black Hawk. My friend, when we went on he said, there are how many storage units right around you? There are how many storage units right around you? And I just put the zip code. I did not know. There were 19.
Really?
19 storage units in the Bay Area, where I live, in Dublin, in Pleasanton, in, San Ramon, Black Hawk, Walnut Creek. I said, I can't see them. Maybe I've seen them 3 or 4. So they are tucked away, And so, storage units is here to stay. And just like I mentioned to you before the podcast, my very good friend, Anshu, and he's the startup guy, right? He's the IT guy. He took his one company and sold it at NASDAQ. So now we are in the hotels, hospitalities together. We are meeting this weekend. And then he loves storage units and I love storage units. So we are even thinking about purchasing land, building them because it's only 4 walls, and then automating it. So mostly self-storage. Please take us to the ones you are buying. Are you automating it? That's the key to reduce the expense, right?
I'm going to give you a roundabout answer. So the middle part of my book has 4 different strategies to maximize your wealth through self-storage. One is ground up development. A second one is taking an old Sears or Kmart building and renovating it, or even an old warehouse like we did in Boston. A third strategy, the third strategy is value add self-storage, where you're just making these value add improvements I just mentioned. And then the fourth is just buying a cash flowing facility like a REIT might buy. We wouldn't want to do that. I think the biggest mistake in my book was I didn't give enough space to automation, because the people I had learned self-storage under really didn't like automation, because you wouldn't have the showroom, you wouldn't sell locks, boxes, tapes, scissors, you wouldn't be able to rent U-Hauls, you wouldn't be able to upsell them very easily. But so I gave only about 2 pages of my book to automation, but COVID really accelerated automation. That used to be you'd have to have a $36,000 kiosk that might need to be upgraded or might break down. And now they've got software, of course, you can do it from your iPhone and your Android, and it's much, much easier. And so I really think that was a mistake in my book. If I was going to rewrite it, I'd add a chapter on automation. Most of the facilities we invest in, so we invest through operators who are experts at this. Most of them are quite a bit larger, and they tend to be more profitable as fully staffed facilities rather than automated. But I really believe in that model now.
Oh, thank you.
Automated model as well.
I'm so glad, Paul, you mentioned it, because when I saw what my very good friend and very good partner now, who showed me everything is done online. The leasing is done online. Payments are done online. All these automatic code system is gone, and we put we fence it if it's not fenced, the storage unit, and then the gate opens momentarily as they put their things. Computer sends them the code, it unlocks, and they go inside and they put their own locks in there. We don't have any control. And then it's so simple. I couldn't believe it. And he showed me, Vinney, this much money we have collected so much. And if somebody doesn't pay, we can lock them out.
You leverage their stuff.
Yeah,
it's great.
Exactly.
And there's no eviction moratorium. The CDC
No.
can't even get involved. Well,
Yeah.
they haven't yet, at least.
I know. So no, definitely, automation is what really got me focused in. So we have a goal of 100 million right now, in a fund to build and buy these, 100 million very quickly, maybe in a couple of years or so, let's say. But the key thing is, I think I love what you said, additional. So we are looking for land also. Like we were looking at one with 11 acres of land, which came with the storage units. So we thought we're going to build brand new one in the back or do RVs. RVs are great, and so forth. Fabulous. No, thank you for being very candid, but
Absolutely.
the automation, yeah.
Can I tell you something funny?
Please.
I don't think I've shared this on a show before, but some of these mom and pop operators crack me up. So you talked about, automated, you rent it online, you pay online, all that. So
yes.
They say when you're a self-storage facility, you want to do everything in your power to get the tenant's attention before they lease.
Hi, you are listening to Syndication Made Easy podcast. We will be right back after this short break.
Hi, thank you so much. This is Vinney Chopra, and thank you for subscribing to my podcast and YouTube channel and Facebook pages and all the great things, and LinkedIn. Connect with me. I come live to you every Friday at 9:30 Pacific with Vinney and Bo show. Please also look at that. And also the podcast, which is my apartment syndication made easy. The book I wrote a couple of years back became international top seller on Amazon International now. And then we like to bring great guests for you every week or twice a week sometime to give you a lot of great knowledge. So please subscribe. You give us 5-star reviews on the iTunes. The better the guests we can bring, and our ranking will go higher also. Thanks again for following us and really getting the most out of it. Please comment, like, share, because we would love to bring better and better material for you.
And then everything in your power to let them forget about you after they lease, because you have automated payments. And we heard about a doctor who said, I'm going to invest in self-storage. He was in Atlanta and he said, I forgot. I have a self-storage facility for 7 years and it's just been hitting my credit card every month and I'd forgot about it. And so that's the goal. But here's the funny story. This a friend of mine was buying a self-storage facility and from a mom and pop owner, and the mom and pop owner, he asked him, how do your tenants pay you? I kid you not. Listen to this, Vinney. His tenants would have to drive to the facility every month, take their payment, cash or check, slip it under the door of their own unit every month. Yes. And then he would come around, which is, I don't even know if this is legal. He would come around with a key and open every unit and grab the payment every month from every unit. And that's how he was doing it. And it just cracked me up to think that, buying from them and automating it, what a tremendous upgrade that would be.
For sure. And I think you would be really making those tenants, let's say, the owners, happy. They don't have to come all the way and slip that check in there,
Yeah,
but,
right.
Oh, wow. So let me ask you a question. As you are evaluating them, let's go to that. What are some factors you need to really, like holy grail, we call it, right? Over there for a multifamily, what you look for in storage units? Please shed some light.
So let's hit the big four. So number one, we want to hit a radius analysis.
Yes.
A radius analysis would tell us how many people are living in a, let's say, 3 mile radius.
3 mile radius. Yeah. 3 mile. Okay.
And so we want to know every man, woman, and child in that 3 mile radius, how many, and then we also want to know how many square feet of self-storage serves that same radius. And the goal, the national average, Vinney, is about 7 square feet, maybe 8 square feet per person. And that, it's probably less in places like the Midwest, like Illinois, Wisconsin, Ohio, Indiana, where there's a lot of basements and the climate is moderate. It's probably more in places like Florida, Texas, and California, where they don't have many basements and they don't have attic storage is tough in some of those hot climates. And so that's the first thing we want. The second thing, by the way, there's a software out there called Radius Plus. Radius Plus is a subscription or, pay as you go software where you can analyze the radius. And that's I would never build or buy a self-storage facility without doing radius analysis first. Second, we're going to want to look at the incomes in the area. They don't need to be Black Hawk. They don't need to be the highest income in the area, but we want an average income for the area or a higher than average income. We definitely don't want it to be in a depressed neighborhood.
Right.
So we want income second. Third, we want to be on a main road. We want to see a traffic count of, let's say 10 or 20,000 vehicles per day or more. Now there's exceptions to that one, but that would be nice to have that. And then fourth, we want to be very visible on that road. We don't want to be down behind a Walmart and, in a valley or something where you can't see the storage. Those are the four main criteria for location.
Excellent. Now, let's look into the numbers. I know they are mom and pop. Many times they don't keep great records. They don't have very, all these Excel worksheets, or they even have on paper, their totals. How do you go about taking that and presenting it to the bank, right? Because they want some history and everything. Kind of take us into that. Yeah.
I'm going to diverge for a second. I tell you, we invest in mobile home parks as well. And talk about mom and pop records. Sometimes they're coffee stained. They're not complete. There's cash involved that's not reported. It's just really difficult. And that's why for years, mobile home parks had to be owner finance, but the banks have gotten wise and they know how to do that now. But self-storage isn't quite as bad as mobile home parks, but the banks, self-storage has become so popular, especially since COVID, when it's just taken off, and the Wall Street Journal and New York Times call it the number one commercial real estate asset class coming out of COVID. Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac are very favorable toward, even though they're mainly residential, they're very favorable towards self-storage, and there is a lot of loans. If you're on the smaller side or on the newer side, there's SBA loans that have very favorable rates. There's a bank in Wilmington, North Carolina that does a lot of those loans called Live Oak Bank. You can connect with them to try to get an SBA loan. So loans are great.
Excellent. What percentage LTV are we looking at? I know in the hotels, I just got, I think, very good rate, 5-year interest only on the new hotel I'm buying. Well, it's already built, 2014, I think, in Virginia. I'm buying it over there in Norfolk, Virginia. Okay. And then we just put an LOI for a Texas hotel, St. Padre, and then another one over there in Ohio, I think, or someplace. My partners we are building. And it's been really exciting to really diverge and go from multifamily, stay there a little bit, but also go into all different other places, So let me ask you a question. In the storage units, what are some pitfalls in operation?